as far as the S&P goes, we did get a little bit of a gap up today. We're selling off right now. I got to really zoom in. All right, so as of now, so here's Friday's close. We gapped up, tagged that yellow zone right now. And right now we found some sellers. So we'll have to see how that pans out. This is the futures market, so this is what drives the order flow into like the VOO or the SPY. A lot of the ETFs that a lot of people trade. Again, you'll always see me zone this out because I want to know I like to follow what's in charge, not what lags behind, or tries to play catch up in the morning. Which is always why you'll see zones on the futures. Again, that's what drives the order flow into those ETFs. Right now, a gap up. I got to say, we are. I was bullish last week, and we sold off a little bit. Friday was cool. I got to say, if there was a case to be made about things being overbought, last week might have really cooled that off. I'm sure this candle has a name. I need to learn the candle names. But anyway, not really an indecisive week last week. When you look at this, we still sold off. We tried. Buyers picked it right back up. Last week was a garbage week for me because I either missed it or I didn't pull the trigger. Didn't really do much. But I think last week was the cool-off week. And when things push up, you guys hear me say this a lot, they pull over or they pull back. And last week was pretty much a pull-over week. A whole lot of nothing. If you weren't in futures or like individual stocks itself, if you were playing just SPY in general, you watched it go a little bit up, a little bit down, ultimately end the week up. Doji, would you call that a doji? Uh, and you might. I feel like a doji doesn't have a doji. I thought was like equal wicks to both sides and not really that big. And again, guys, you can just Google. Go to just Google images and look that up. There's no research you need to actually do. The name doesn't mean anything. The action is what does. Understanding what put that candle in the first place is what means something, regardless of the name. Man, I was kind of bearish. You know, we were pushing up, and I kind of thought there's even a couple people in the chat that thought mid-October things are going to be red. There was a crash a long time ago that happened in October, so it used to be the October red, but then September, historically September started being red. Just not last September because that wasn't red. But just remember all the other times it will be. Go ahead and go all in short. But anyway, I was thinking we're kind of a little overbought. Maybe we get a little bit of some mid-October volatility, whatever the excuse is, and we would sell off. And I'm kind of on board that, and I'll get to why later. Tesla is one of the reasons. But if we were just sticking to the charts completely unbiased right now, I'd say it looks more like a grind up, and we're just going to continue this. Don says Dragonfly. I like Dragonfly. Dragonfly looks cool. Sounds cooler. They're naming it in the chat. Doji opens and closes at the same price, or pretty near. Yeah, that didn't, and that had a longer wick. There's like a spinning star, a shooting top. Is it shooting stars? Shooting star, spinning top. There's a hammer in there. I don't know. Either way, let's not get lost in the name, but it does have one. But I would say all of that right there was the pullover week. Lori says that's a spinning top. She does know the names. Thank you. Maybe we'll wait for a robo-taxi to turn bearish. Hey, you're getting ahead of yourselves. I do think so. All right, the NASDAQ. Ooh, right there at that yellow zone that doesn't mean anything. That's what someone said on TikTok a long time ago. Anyway, we gapped right to the top of that. If we could just exhaust all the sellers there, and right now there's about 4 people trading. It is a Tokyo market. If we could just break that wick, last week's high, I do think we're testing this zone right here. Wouldn't be surprised to see it actually break and hit this zone above. Are my lines working? One of these days, TradingView will get their act together, and my lines will work again. I guess everything about that just looks bullish to me. I mean, I don't like to just say, bullish or bear. I like to have some kind of action with it. And the NASDAQ will be one that I play. But I was kind of debating on should I take a futures trade? Now, the NASDAQ, if you guys have ever traded the futures, right, it's the runner. Right now, if I were to break the three down, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Russell, the NASDAQ is your 100-meter dash sprinter. I mean, that thing is going for it. It can go a lot more than 100 meters. It just sprints. That's it. The S&P's got a nice little jog. The Russell, the small cap, turtle. That is the turtle on the lawnmower. It goes nowhere. It just kind of walks. It's one of the easier ones to trade because if you forget something, it's pretty forgiving. It doesn't exactly scream up and down. It's kind of like trading Apple. Doesn't really go anywhere. Um, but that can get pricey because I don't have a fake account. It's a real account, not a Top Step, not a it'll give me money account like a lot of other people like to trade, right? It's real money, up and down. What I would think about doing this week, I'm kind of, I think we grind up. I think we are bullish, but if without a clear catalyst, without something blowing up, I think it's going to be more of a grind up, which makes trading futures a little bit harder because there's a lot of like just wicks going down. You get in, it tags you out, turns around. By the time you get back in, you're setting yourself up for another loss, and you're just going to be embarrassed with yourself at the end of the week. I was trying to think out just off the top of my head, what would I grab? Could I just grab a cheap options contract? I don't know if it's worth going cheap and buy out of the money, but maybe I would grab a 490 call for Friday. I think that'd be the play. If I had to take it right now, it'd be a 490 call for Friday. I think the war will finally bring the market into reality. Are we going to war yet? What's up, Terry? I do like to say, hey, if I recognize your names, um, go to Sierra Chart. Never looked back. I will do that after the stream. I'll remember that. How's QQQ? That's what we literally just went over. If you're just joining, bullish, kind of. And if you're watching on TikTok, by the way, this is live on YouTube as well. TikTok doesn't show the recordings after you're live. So if you want to go catch the whole stream, you can go to YouTube and catch from the beginning. But I do go over the dollar, US dollar, Japanese yen, Bitcoin, the S&P, the NASDAQ, which is QQQ, and then the Russell. Russell, I guess I'd have to be bullish. What are financials doing? Ooh, if financials, I do like financials. Right now, that looks more like a breakout setup. So now, personally, I would rather be long like XLF or let's see what JP Morgan looks like. Yeah, if JP Morgan get above that, Bank of America, at least it's already above that zone. What's Wells Fargo doing? Man, I think I don't want to. Typically, you'd think like that might be chasing. That might be your bullish signal. Getting above this, maybe a stop buy at 212.35. I certainly wouldn't want to go short it. If I was short, my stop would be it'd be 212.85, and no reason I'd still be in that. Um, Even then, so financials hold the biggest part in the Russell. Um, I think I'd rather just trade a financial instrument though. I think JP Morgan would take the cake on that one. And for those of you that have a problem with bag holding, let's say you just make the decision to trade JP Morgan and you bag hold a little bit. You collect $1.25 dividend per share every quarter. And how long are you really going to be bag holding this thing for? And here's the Rona crash right here. I got to get this so it's on the TikTok stream. Here's the whole chart. Okay, you're doing all right. Sometimes if you have a problem with bag holding, risk management, and you just don't know what you're doing, it's fine. It's fair if you don't know what you're doing, right? Look at the chart. Does it go from the lower left to the upper right? Those are the more forgiving ones. Just remember, there is a difference between having a plan and bag holding. And one will just lose all your money. Next 20 years. Banks start having earnings on Friday. I think I'm bullish.